respect, but I promise I'm repping the O to the dead. Hey, oof, I told them out of my way. I don't got nothing to say. Now they can't run at my pace. Yeah, they know that we ain't the same. 402, we rap the game. I told them this ain't a game.
Yo, what's poppin'? It's your boy Fence Take with CB83A coming to you for another banger. Shout out to everybody in the chat, everybody in the building. We got a great show lined up for you. This is gonna be a fun one. Man, I see we got some updates on StreamYard, man. Shout out to everybody in the building. I see you. Man, y'all in here today. There we go. Ryan AP in the building. We going up for the homie Ryan AP. Let's get it, my guy. Let's go. Yes, sir. Shout out to the homie Canes Dolphins in the building. Shout out to the homie. That's the homie in real life too. Let's go. Hey, shout out to Timothy Washington. Shout out to Sean. Always in the building supporting. Gotta go up, man. The homie Sean always rapping, man. Shout out to Mr. Polk. I see you, KP. Everybody coming in the building. I see y'all. Y'all ready to get this thing cracking. We got a good one lined up for you. There's a lot to talk about in the Miami Dolphins community. A little drama, right? You know the Miami Dolphins are always gonna give you some drama, right? But I appreciate y'all coming through, man. Do your boy a favor. Punch the like button on your way in. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing started, man. Go ahead and get crank up. We got the homie Lewis in the building. Lewis, what's popping, man? What's going on with you?
CB, what's good, bro?
Hey, what it do, man?
Hey, man, you know how I do, CB, trying to kick up some dust in the community.
Hey,
man, that's all.
I heard the Twitter space, man. Y'all kicking up a little dust, man. What's going on, man? What's the stories? What's the headlines?
Hey, man, I think Christian Wilkins there was rumblings a few days ago that the Dolphins might use the tag on him. Now we get the news today that it's more than likely he's going to avoid the tag and he's going to hit free agency. So I think that's a touchy subject, right? I think there's a lot of people that are mad now that, there were maybe, whether people want to believe it or not, you could have maybe moved off of him last year if this was your initial plans not to give him what he wanted, if you were going to try to lowball him, right?
Yeah.
If you were going to let him walk or lose him for nothing, bro, you should have tried to gain something from him, right? Like, shouldn't that have been the idea, CB?
I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? I mean, if you're trying to win, right, and you thought you had a really good opportunity to win last year, I don't think the Miami Dolphins were in a position to move off of him, right? I felt like we didn't need the draft capital. We needed the player, right? And he was productive. He did make some plays, right? So I think that's easy for us to say at this point. Man, you should have got some compensation for him. But looking at the situation now, like Chris Greer said, he's earned the right to be a free agent. He's earned the right to test the market. Now they could, still slap the tag on him, but I think that's very counterproductive if your conversation was, hey, bet on yourself and go test the market. I think that's counterproductive to throw a tag on him. I don't think that's giving him the freedom to go really test the market. So, I mean, when they say that, I feel like they got to be giving these guys the opportunity to go test the market and see what they can actually get for compensation. Don't you think?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know, man. I listen. You know how I felt, CB. I think we should have moved him. Last year he was productive this year, and I get it. But even in hindsight, bro, like I think Miami kind of knew this all along. I don't think they were willing to pay. I think going into last year, right, it was known what Christian Wilkins was looking for, even before the year happened. So if Miami or Chris Greer in particular, right, if they were going to play this game and not give him what he wanted, I just think it was malpractice by the team not to try to, because we didn't even hear that his name was offered in trade last year, not even before the season or even at the deadline. And I'm just saying, to sit where we are today, CB, I said we should have traded him, but it doesn't sit well with me knowing that Christian Wilkins more than likely is out of the building, and I'm not getting nothing for him. I don't like how we ended up, how we played this situation out.
you're gonna get the comp pick, right? And you're saying the comp pick isn't enough. You need more than that.
Well, it's a third, right? Let's say the comp pick is a third, CB. I think you could have maybe got a late first round, early second, day 2 pick, right? Like, would it be safe to say that going into last year, we could have got at least a second and maybe a fourth for Christian Wilkins?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I think that's possible.
Okay. A second and a fourth sounds better than a third. You see what I'm saying?
It does. Now, you also got to be thinking at it, from a business standpoint, right? Maybe they're not willing to like move forward with Christian Wilkins as a guy in the organization. I mean, of course, he was drafted by Greer, right? But he's not a McDaniel guy. He's not a Weaver guy, right? He wasn't brought in by the guys on this coaching staff. Do you think that, hey, maybe it's just not a fit moving forward that Christian Wilkins is a player for the Miami Dolphins? I think that's a possibility. I think people, underestimate the power of a coach drafting a guy and a coach actually these players being one of his guys. And let's be real, Christian Wilkins isn't one of Mike McDaniel's guys. Like, what's your thoughts on that, Lou?
I mean, that could be CB. I'm not,
Yeah.
That would be speculative. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. But you're right. Like, if you look, yeah, he's a Chris Greer guy, but from a coaching staff perspective, no, none of these guys really have any ties to Christian Wilkins. So
yeah. And the only one that really has ties to him is Chris Greer, right? I feel like he was his first draft
absolutely.
Pick. And if Chris Greer offered him, hey, 20, 21, 22 and a half or something like that, and his number is 24 and he's not willing to budge on that, I think you got to let a guy go test the market in that instance. I think you got to let him test the market. Now, what's the max you would give Christian Wilkins?
I'm going to say, for me, CB, I'm going to say, I know people ain't going to like it. I'm around 18, bro. I'm not getting close to, I'm just saying, like, listen, even at 18, bro, I think Zach Seiler's at what, like 11 and a half? I'm still giving you $7 more million, right? On top of a guy that, let's be honest, played just as many snaps as you, right? And, bro, put up basically the exact same numbers.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm, I hear the notion, right, that we're lowballing Christian Wilkins. Well, if I got a guy right next to you making 11 and I'm giving you 18, that's a $7 million. How is that lowballing, bro? If you were dominating and the guy next to you had no numbers or no, bro, like I could argue Zach Seiler was more productive last year under Vic Fangio than Christian Wilkins was. There's a legit case to be made. So I don't know, bro. Again, I know a lot of people are saying, well, just give him 20. It's fine. Nah, I think my number's 18. So that's just where I'm at.
And I think that number is, I don't think it's fair for the market, but I think it's reasonable for what we've seen in production, right? I think he probably is around 21, 20 and a half, something like that. But if he's at 24 or 23, and I mean, I think that's stretching it. And I feel like he's got to come down on this number to be in the building, to be around Mike McDaniel, to be around this team, in order for us to move forward. Now, if he's not willing to do that, bro got to go get his money. And I'm not mad at Christian getting his money at all, because honestly, NFL players don't get many opportunities to go into free agency and test the market and get courted by other football teams. So by all means, get your bag. But I did make a tweet today, and it's like, it seems like these guys are choosing their bag over the Mike McDaniel culture of being in a good environment, being in a, cushy environment. What's your thoughts on that, bro? I mean, because it seems like guys are, guys may be choosing their bag, and it hasn't been done yet, right? They may be using this time frame as leverage in order to draw things out. That still could be the case, but it seems like guys are choosing their bag over taking the hometown discount to be in Miami and to be coached by Mike McDaniel.
Well, that contradicts everything that we heard about Mike McDaniel, right? Because the narrative when we hired him and got rid of the other coach, right, and Brian Flores, was no one wanted to work with Brian Flores. And Brian Flores, in the same token, he didn't want to work with nobody. So that relationship, that marriage wasn't going to work. And Mike McDaniel was supposed to be the guy that was going to throw barbecues. He was the quarterback whisperer. I'm just saying, CB, if we're going to talk about it, right? Like, bro, the title of the show is Let's Have Tough Conversations, right? I'm just saying, bro, the barbecues, right? The movie nights, the bowling nights and stuff, right? That was supposed to bring the team together. And to your point, CB, I had never thought about it, but I think you're kind of spot on right there, bro. Like, could it be that these players, let's say they didn't want to be under Brian Flores, the super dictator, right? Like my way or the highway, but they also don't want to be coached by a guy that is, again, let's call it a yes man, right? Even when the players say something, it's yes, yes, yes. I think sometimes players also want to be coached, right? They might not want to get screamed at all day for 24/7, but they also don't want to just be told yes at every chance they get, right? They do want to be coached. So I think you have a real good point there, CB.
Yeah, man. I think those are conversations you got to have when you're making, decisions about going to a new franchise. Hey, do I want to make the move? What does this look like for me financially? What does it look like for me culture-wise? Is this a good fit for me? I mean, these NFL guys have played under multiple coaches, different college, they played at college, they played in high school, so they know what type of coaching they're going to get. They've seen a lot of coaches, right? Experienced a lot of coaches. But I mean, it just seems like to me that, these guys aren't willing to budge on these numbers. And that's a little concerning to me because I thought guys would be willing to kind of take some, take a little hit on the money. If it's a couple mil a year, I thought they'd be willing to kind of take a hit on it. And to see that these guys aren't willing to like budge and go to the negotiating table with a little bit more, flexibility is a little concerning to me. It is. And I don't know what's happening in the building, but it does kind of like, the antennas go up because it's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, listen, players want to be compensated, right? So I never am going to hold a player, again, like Christian Wilkins. I wouldn't pay him, but I don't blame Christian Wilkins to try to go out on free agency and try to find his money neither. Like if somebody's willing to give him 24, 25 million, I would never hate on Christian Wilkins because he left to make that money. But the one thing I would say, CB, like, again, let's take a guy like Robert Hunt, for instance. We know what Christian Wilkins wants, but a guy like Robert Hunt, there's been rumors that there might be offers or compensation hitting $16, $17 million per season, right? If I'm a guy like
who was that?
Robert Hunt, bro. Well, again, again, shout out to Neil Driscoll, but Neil put out a tweet a couple of days ago saying that he has heard rumblings of two teams, and these are his words, not mine. But again, I respect Neil. I think Neil does do a lot of good work in the community. I just want to say that. But he said he heard there's two teams, CB, that is willing to give Robert Hunt up to $17 million per season.
Wow.
Like, what does Miami do in that situation, right? Like, I'll ask you, CB, do you think Robert Hunt's worth $17 million a year?
What? Nah, not 17 mil. Nah, hell no.
Okay, so what would be the number? Because to your question, CB, if you're Robert Hunt and there's a team that's offering you 17, what would Miami have to offer you for you to stay?
I think maybe, I don't know. That's tough. Maybe between 12 and 14, right? But I think even so, that's a little bit high for Miami. I think 12 would be reasonable. I think if we could sign him to a 12 mil deal, I think that'd be reasonable. I think Hunt's a good player, right? I don't think he's the best player for the system, but I think he's a good football player. And I think that's what Mike McDaniel may be looking at. Like, man, can I go get a cheaper guy in a better scheme fit for that type of money? Or can I go get 2 guys that are better scheme fits and, cheaper than his contract? Like, I mean, those are conversations you got to have, because it's not just about the players and the love for the players at this point. It's about, hey, what's their production like on the field? It's about being efficient. What's that efficiency like, right? So they could be looking at Hunt and like, man, I'm losing a little bit there. Like, let me go find 2 other guys, and you could get 2 guys in the draft if you wanted to, or you could get 1 in the draft and you could get 1 in free agency. I think you gotta be having those tough conversations, and I think that's what's going on in those offices, bro. They gotta be, because Mike McDaniel was handed this hand. That's what I want y'all to realize. He was handed these guys, and he made them work, right? For the most part. Made them work for the most part. All of them didn't work like they were supposed to work, but for the most part, it looked good. The offensive line, for the most part, they worked within the system. Now, some of these guys aren't his guys. Some of these guys don't work well in the system, but that's going to change. And I think this is a part of the changing of the guard for this Miami Dolphins team. I think you're going to see some different guys in here. Some different guys for sure, Lou.
I mean, I hear you. I don't like losing Robert Hunt, I'll be honest. But I understand if the number comes out and he does walk to, let's say, 17 million, I understand why Miami didn't do it, because I think, again, CB, that's a very good point. Like, Mike McDaniel was given, I believe, a good roster, but to your point, these are not his guys neither. And maybe he's looking at it to, that I can get 2 players for the price of 1 that maybe are better scheme fit. So I hear you, bro. I can't come out here and preach I'm about the logo. I don't care about the names in the back of the jersey. Again, I hate losing Robert Hunt, but for 17 million, I understand why they may be moving off.
Hey, and shout out to the homie Ian who just popped in. Ian, what's good with you, man?
Yeah, that's more like it. When I pull up, goddamn it, you stop the show, you stop every goddamn thing. I don't give a damn if you got the president up on this goddamn stream. Yeah. When Ian pulls up, everything stops, and I need to be properly introduced. Goddamn it!
I know the presentation of the show is just taking a hit. I know that.
Oh man, it's looking bad, Lou. Is it looking bad?
Yeah, bro. We had a good thing going.
Yeah. That's real cute. That's real cute.
Hey, but back to this. So,
but salute, fellas, though, for real. Salute.
Good, and Ian, I want you to get in on this, right? We're talking about Rob Hunt and his situation, and I heard another YouTube content creator just kind of going to town on the Miami Dolphins for this Robert Hunt situation, like literally killing the Dolphins organization.
Put a name on that. Who?
And it was TD Fans talk. It was TD, right?
Okay.
You know, I don't mind putting a name on.
Hey, man, you know how we do, bro. We don't play them games, but that's what's up. That's what's up.
And TD's my guy, but he was really going to town in regards to the Miami Dolphins, in regards to the situation, upset that it got to this point where we're letting Hunt go. Because he feels like he's a really good football player and he should be priority over guys like Tua and, maybe Wilkins and some other guys. Maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's kind of what his take was, right? And I thought it was a little bit, not premature, but like inconsiderate, because you don't know the plan of the Miami Dolphins moving forward. Like, maybe Robert Hunt isn't in their future, right? And I know that's tough for us to fathom as fans because we've seen him here. We drafted him here. Mike McDaniel didn't draft him, but Greer was a part of that team that drafted him. Like, is Robert Hunt, is it that big of a deal that we're letting him walk in free agency? Is this something that's going to hurt the Miami Dolphins in the future?
Well, far be it to me to agree with anything TD Foolish Talk got going on, right? But I'm going to make an exception at this point, because I do agree that Robert Hunt, I've been consistent. I've been on the record. He should have been a priority this offseason. I think over Christian Wilkins, over, I'm not necessarily Tua, but definitely of, the other free agents that are not, that don't play the quarterback position. I felt like Robert Hunt should have been a priority. He's been consistent. He's been durable. He's a homegrown, a homegrown developed. You developed him, and he's been an ascending player all 4 years he's been in the league. So again, playing right guard, playing that right side, that's to his blind side, and he should have been a priority. So I agree with that. I agree with that assessment to a degree, to some degree. But this is where I kind of
that money though.
Well, listen, this will be a case, and again, I don't like to live in that world of overpaying players, but this is a rare, unique opportunity where I wouldn't necessarily, lose sleep over overpaying for him because of all of the things I just mentioned, right?
Well, Ian, let me ask you this real quick, just to stop you there, but I would love to hear your thoughts. I mentioned right before you got up here that a guy that does a lot of good work in the community, right? We all know him. He does a show with Reason. Shout out to the boys. But Neil Driscoll the other day, right, put out a tweet that he said that he heard that there's 2 teams willing to pay Robert Hunt up $17 million or upwards, right? So when I hear you say that's a position that you don't like to overpay players, we all get that, but you might be willing to make a concession. Is Robert Hunt, in your opinion, worth $17 million if that's what he can get in the open market?
I don't know about 17. Like
that's what I'm saying, right?
And I find, and again, not to throw any shade on Neil. I know Neil is legit, and he's been spot on a lot of things that he's been, a lot of his projections he's put out in the community, but I just find it extremely difficult to believe that you're gonna have a team that's gonna pony up 17+ million for Robert Hunt. And again, a player that's never made first team All-Pro, a player that's never made a Pro Bowl, right? And again, I think he's a good ascending player, and I'm a player that I'm willing to invest in. But this is the reality of the situation in terms of his contract, what the contract he could potentially be seeking. He is not, again, you look at the top guards in the league. You look at Zach Martin. You look at a lot of the other players, top players at that position. I think Zach Martin is around that 17, 18 million, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct. But 17 million, that's a little rich, bro. And again, I'll be shocked if he gets that on the open market, because my price tag that I was willing to go to between 12 and 15, and 15 is like absolutely stretching it. So anything north of 15, you're talking 17, 18, 19, and anything big larger than that. That's
top 3.
That is crazy to me,
bro. That's top 3 money. If you get paid 17 million, yeah, that's top 3.
That's mind blowing. And again, that might be a little too rich for my liking. And I get if that is the case. If he feels like he can get that on the open market, I'm sure Chris Greer told him, look, okay, man, well, you go ahead and do your thing, and we'll have this 12 million sitting on the table. If you get out there in the free agent, if you get out there in the streets and you don't find what you're looking for, you can always come back to this 12 million. I think that's where the Dolphins, kind of where they're at with him. But you can't blame Robert Hunt though. This is the first time, him being in free agency. He's a second round pick. He's not a first round pick, right? So this will be his first opportunity to get that legit, that real money again relative to the NFL. That's right. Right. But I can't blame him for that. If you can get anything north of 15 on the open market within, hey man, salute.
That's the crazy. So when I look at the top 10 guards in the NFL, so Chris Lindstrom has won at 20 mil, right? But as you go down, right, you have Elgin Jenkins at 17 mil. He's at number 3. And then Brandon, the Jenkins kid out of Green Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's getting 17 mil. Brandon Scherf in Jacksonville is getting 16. You go down to number 7, Wyatt Teller. He's getting 14.2. You go down to Zach Martin at number 8. He's getting 14. Tomlinson is getting 13 from the Jets, 13.3.
They're about to cut him too.
And then Ben Powers is getting 13 from the Broncos. So, I mean, you're looking at paying him. I mean, and at that point, it drops down to number 11. Shaq Mason for the Texans, he's getting paid 11.6. So, Cesar Ruiz, he's getting paid $11 million in New Orleans. Now, Where would Robert Hunt fit in here? I think he's a, you know, 10
Well,
to 12 million dollar guy, maybe.
what's that guy Jenkins? And again, I don't really know much about him. But you said he's making 17 million. He's at number 2. What are his numbers looking like compared to like a Robert Hunt? Like where
I
do
don't
they
know. That's
compare? If you guys
I
were
get what you're saying.
comparing Robert Hunt's play to this kid Jenkins' play, because that's if I'm Robert Hunt and anything is comparable, that's where again
But
again,
you got
I'm
to
not gonna
think. But you got to think these top 4 to 6 guys are probably Pro Bowlers, all pros too.
Well, but that's what I'm asking. Does Jenkins have any of that on his resume?
I'm sure
Does he
he
have
does.
Pro Bowls and does he have?
Yeah.
I'm
I have
sure
to
he
take a
does.
look. I have to take a look. But a top 3 guard in the NFL, he's got to have a Pro Bowl under his belt. He's got to. You would think so.
And again, man, I love Robert Hunt, bro. But man, anything north of 15, that is stretching it to the max for me. I'm disappointed though, because they could have got out ahead of this. He should have been re-upped last year, or you had an opportunity to do that. Because again, they see these play. We only see these players on Sundays, right?
Yeah.
They see these players 6 days a week. You see the work ethic, you see the improvement every single day on the practice field. You know what kind of character these players have, you know, so you're well aware of the person off the field, the man off the field. I mean, sometimes a big part of being a GM is making projections. And sometimes, bro, you got a player that you're very comfortable with that's done nothing but everything you've asked of him since you drafted him. Sometimes you got to get out of, you know, more often than not, you need to get out ahead of his, you know, you need to bank on that trajectory, get out ahead of his contract status, and you need to make a projection and kind of, sign these players a lot earlier and don't let them get to their last year. And then now you got a player with Hunt, you got a player with Christian Wilkins. They're both top 10 at their respective positions in my estimation, right? And all of a sudden now you're in a situation where you're stuck. You might have, you know, he's going out here, possibly getting 15 to 17 million when you could have had him locked up for 8 to 10 2 years ago.
And that's the thing that kills me about us, is that we just don't get ahead of these deals. And if that's anything I'd be upset about with the Miami Dolphins, is that just not getting ahead of, because you could have got ahead of Christian Wilkins a long time ago. Like, you could have gave him an extension a couple years ago and it would have been a lot less money, because you didn't see that sack production, right? Sometimes you have to predict and bet on guys' upside. If they're constantly getting better every year, and that's what Christian Wilkins has done. It's just like Tua, right? People want to hate on Tua, but he's gotten better each year. I mean, sometimes you have to bet on that and say, hey, he's going to be a guy that continues to get better. Now, I understand not going all in on a guy like Tua because of the health situation, right? But when it comes down to Christian Wilkins, he didn't have any health issues. You should have paid him. You should have paid Robert Hunt. But maybe Mike McDaniel and the coaching staff was saying, hey, we're not sure if this is going to be a piece in our future, right? Offer him this number, and if he doesn't take that, then we'll go get another guy.
But I don't understand, why would you don't gamble like that with, I mean, he's done everything. I mean, you look at the skill set, he's diverse, bro. He's the only player that you can put virtually any blocking scheme in front of him and he's going to excel at. He's proven that. So those type of players, bro, that have the skill set, they've got the production, they've got the durability, they've got everything. He checks every box. Those are players that you put in that foundational category. The ones that you can't let get out. You can't let get out of your program. So that's the dangerous.
All right, so hold up.
If that's the case, though, if everything you're saying right there, EM, is true, though, then he sounds like a $17 million player to me.
No. Let's not get crazy now.
But that's what you're saying. But if I got a player that has stayed healthy, right? If I got a player that can fit in any scheme, he showed you that, right? He's highly productive. Then why? I don't care. I shouldn't care about the number, right?
Well, if he would have shown Pro Bowl ability 2 years ago, last year or 2 years ago, if he was on that legit Pro Bowl trajectory at that time, well then, okay, and he's got maybe a couple Pro Bowls, maybe a second team All Pro or something underneath his belt.
Ain't Pro Bowls is more of a popularity contest though? I mean,
Well,
let's be fair. All pros would probably mean more to me than Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl, it just means about like if you're friendly with players, if the players like you, there's fans voting. I don't think Robert Hunt is a household name like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I said, All Pro. Maybe if you got a second team All Pro on your belt or something like that, just a little more, accomplished. And in terms of individual numbers, I would be more inclined to make him, a top 3 highest paid at his respective position. But that's just hadn't been the case with Robert Hunt. And again, I think he can get there. He just hadn't shown us that level of play for any part, any portion of his, 4 years of being here. But again, he's ascending, he's trending up, he's definitely on an upward trajectory. But I'm just not making that, that top 3 money investment in him without that resume.
Yeah. I mean, and that's tough too. I mean, he's kind of like a tweener guy, right? He's not a Pro Bowl guy, but he's a solid football player. He's a solid piece, right? Looking at his PFF grades, 2022, he was a 73.7. He tied for 4th in the most penalties. So in 2022, he was coming off a season where he had a lot of penalties. He played a lot of snaps. Of course, he played like over 1,000 snaps. He only allowed three sacks during the season, which was like tied for 24th. But in 2023, the snap count just snapped in half. Like he only played 547 snaps in 2023.
Yeah, he got hurt.
And that was because of the injury, right? Do you think that has a lot to do with the deal, the Miami Dolphins may be offering him? I mean, he's been healthy up until this point, but
because I think that was the first time he even
snaps.
But that was only one season, though. I think this was the only season he even missed a start for us. Am I right about that?
Yeah. I think that's the case. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So 3 years of straight playing the entire season. If I'm the Dolphin organization, I'm not holding that against him. In his 4th year, again, he dealt with some things. Okay, cool. I'm not going to hold that kid. He's been the most productive. He's been the best offensive lineman we've had since we drafted him. And he gave me 3 consecutive years of straight health. Nah, bro, I don't. At least for me, I'm not going to hold that against him.
No, durability is not a big concern with me with Robert Hunt. If I'm Chris Grier, it's just that I just think, we see players, we see teams fall in love with players all the time. We see it during the draft process, and we also see it in free agency. And I think that's what we're seeing here. You got a team, somewhere that is just absolutely falling in love. They're big fans of him. Coaches probably was high on him coming into the draft, that 2020 draft when he was selected. That we see that all the time in the NFL. So, but again, Robert Hunt, man, the team that potentially acquires him, if they give him that level of a salary, again, that's a situation where they're projecting him, getting to a certain level. A big mistake the Dolphins made 2 years ago. So again, I just think more than anything, it's just where the Dolphins are in terms of their salary cap situation. There was some irresponsibility and some criticism needs to be aimed in Chris Grier's, direction in that regard. And again, I'm not on the side of the fence of where, I'm just overly critical of Chris Grier. But in this regard, in this type of situation, now it's with the second player, and going on the third one with Javon Holland, maybe even the 5th with pardon my language, with Jalen Waddle, right? If, again, he repeats the same mistake, this is a situation where Chris Grier has got to improve in, bro, because you letting these potential foundational pieces to your program get out the door in a Super Bowl window. Now, be one thing if you in a rebuild. This is a Super Bowl window that you are letting high quality players walk for virtually a compensatory 3rd round pick. No, you got to get a little better, Chris Grier. You need to step your game up.
Well, I think this is a perfect segue then. And CB, what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
I like to kick up dust in the community, right?
Ooh, kicking up dust.
And again, the title of the show, let's have this
I'll be right back.
Conversation.
Give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
Yeah, he wants to run. He knows what I'm about to say. He wants to run.
Body.
the fact of the matter is, CB, we have a player that if we don't start talking about contract with this player, we're going to find ourselves in the same situation that we find ourselves now with Robert Hunt and Christian Wilkins, and that's Javon Holland. Javon Holland is playing on his final year of the deal. So it's basically you got to sign him too. And I brought this up, CB, I know we haven't talked about it publicly, a little bit privately.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of Javon Holland maybe moving him? Because again, see, EM before he just said he would be back, we're going to get a third round comp pick for, let's say, Christian Wilkins, right? I believe if you throw Javon Holland's name out there, I strongly believe you're getting better than that, right?
Yeah, I think you get a better. I think you get maybe a second. I don't know about a first. I don't know. That's tough.
Well, maybe a late first, but even an early second. Don't you think you could get? We don't have a third or fourth round pick. Do you think somebody would be willing to offer you a high second and a fourth?
Yeah, I think so. I just think, is it worth losing a guy like Holland, right? Because honestly, he could. I mean, Holland's probably a top 5 safety in the NFL right now, even with what he has going on, right? He's probably top 5 in terms of health and stuff like that. When he's healthy, he's a really good football player. Now, is it worth taking a chance and drafting a guy or trying to bring in another guy? Like, is the Snead thing real? Is that smoke?
That's a good point, right? Because
I heard the Snead talk kicking up today, right? I heard it kicking up.
Absolutely, CB. So think about it, right? Think about it. You already got Cam Smith. You know he's penciled in to be. He's going to have every opportunity to be opposite Jalen Ramsey, right?
Right. Yeah.
But let's say you pull off a Snead trade, right? And Snead's in Miami. Now he's going where Ramsey is, and I brought this scenario up, right? Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson, guys like that, Pro Bowl corners, all pro corners, right? Transition to safety because shelf life, right? You can extend a player's career. Jalen Ramsey has all the physical traits to play safety. Am I lying? Could he not slide in? And again, bro, I'm just throwing out scenarios. And if you tell me we're losing Javon Holland, but the backfield, the secondary still, I got Darius Snead, Cam Smith as my boundary guys. I still got Cater inside and Jalen Ramsey at safety. I don't believe that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you can get a second, bro, there's a Miami Hurricane by the name of Cam Kitchens that I think you can probably slide in here as well in the second round.
Hey, well, people love them sorry ass Hurricanes for some reason, bro.
No, I love the player. I love the player.
Yeah. Hey, Florida State got some dogs now.
Well, Florida State, whoever it is, CB. One last point, right? One last point. When people get in their feelings about Javon Holland, right? I think, and again, Ian, we talked about this. Safety is not a prime position in the league, right? It's not quarterback. It's not
pass rusher,
right? DNs. Right. It's not. Is Javon Holland worth making, let's say, again, we just had the arguments or the discussions about Robert Hunt getting paid in the top 3 and stuff. Are you making Javon Holland a top 3 safety in the league? Are you paying him top flight money, bro?
Let's keep it in the state let's keep it in the same state of Florida, right? Look, we're up in your neck of the woods in Tampa, Lou. Right. Look at the position the Buccaneers are taking with Antoine Winfield Jr. This is a player. He's been he's been highly productive. Similar situation Javon Holland is in, and look, they opted not to extend him, extend him and franchise him. They're letting him test the market, unless something something comes way out of left field, right? So. I'm just saying I love Javon Holland. Definitely, got nothing but respect for the player on the field. I don't know this soft narrative it seems to be surrounding this player here as of late. I don't know why that is because he has been nothing but an absolute dog on the field. Now, off the field, does he stay in? Is he a little too much in the social media realm? For me, absolutely. But I don't give a fuck what these players do off the field. All I care about is what you do on Sundays for me. And since that man has been drafted, he's been nothing but an absolute dog at his position. With that being said, I don't know if I'm willing to entertain making him top 3 paid players of the position, because again, the last 2 years, for me to make that investment at that position, you got to take the ball away at a high clip. You know what I mean?
And not only that, Ian, but the fact of the matter is the discussion we just had, and this is where I try to hold people accountable. What did we say about Robert Hunt? There's no Pro Bowler.
I agree.
Pro Bowls. There's
I
no
agree.
All Pros.
I agree.
Where's Javon Holland? Where's those
same
stats
situations. I'm
Absolutely.
right there with him as well. And again, he don't.
And I think that's the situation you're in, right? These guys are good football players. They're solid.
But they don't deserve to. They don't deserve to break the bank for.
They don't deserve to break the bank.
No,
right? You don't have the accolades of the guys that are breaking the bank. You don't have the Pro Bowls. You don't have the All Pros. You don't have the interceptions or whatever it is in that category. You just don't have it. So you gotta kind of and somebody's gonna be willing to pay. I'm not mad at them getting their money. Somebody's gonna be willing to pay. We just can't pay everybody.
Would you dangle his name out in trade talks then, CB or Ian? Would you be doing that?
Ooh, that's a tough call, man.
Because see, you got to consider in this situation, what else do you have at safety? He's the only safety you got on roster, bro, under contract.
Yeah.
You need bodies there. So I don't know if that's the best strategy to take with him this year.
I could probably bring in Deshaun Elliott back though on a cheaper deal. And again, we already got we already got a second round. And if you mean to tell me someone is willing, let's say I'm throwing it out there, a second and a fourth for Javon Holland, a fourth we don't have, so we're gaining assets, right? And then the second round pick, bro, you drafted Javon Holland in the second round. Like, what are we talking about? Like 3 years later, if you could trade and get another pick plus the, basically what you paid for him, bro, like, nah, I think I would have 2 firsts and I could replace Javon Holland. Again, people, this is the same argument I was having with people with Christian Wilkins. Forget about the player and how much you love him and the name in the back of the jersey because you got 2 of them at your house in different colors. Forget about all that. The same conversations were, oh my God, how did we trade Minkah Fitzpatrick? What are we gonna do? You know what we did? We found Javon fucking Holland.
Yeah, and I think that's realistic for some positions and some franchises. I think you can do that at some areas, right? And people want us to have this same argument for Tua. Tua doesn't. They saying he doesn't have the Pro Bowls. He doesn't have the All Pros, the accolades to demand that type of money.
He got the Pro Bowl this year.
He did get the Pro Bowl this year, right? So
he didn't make the Pro Bowl last year.
I think he did as an alternate or something like that. I don't know, but he was supposed to, but he got hurt, so it didn't end up happening. Neither here nor there. What I'm saying is, people want us to have the same conversation about Tua. You still have to understand that teams need to be in a position to find another alternative in order for them to really have those conversations about not paying guys and dangling guys out for trade bait, right? The Miami Dolphins, I don't think they're going to say, hey, we're going to go into the draft and find a quarterback that's better than Tua that could play this coming season. It's just not feasible, right? So the draft is out of the picture. Hey, are you looking at free agency? Like, what's out there in free agency that's better than Tua? And that is a legitimate conversation that we could have about replacing Tua, fitting into the system, and just being a better overall player. Like, are we really having those kind of, like, if y'all can really sit here and have some serious conversations about why we shouldn't pay Tua and why we should entertain Kirk Cousins or somebody, Jameis Winston. I've heard Baker Mayfield and all these other guys. Like, these guys they're probably gonna get deals where they're at. So it's kind of hard for me to like take people seriously when they talk about, hey, these are the same situations we have, the same conversations we have with Tua. He's not an All-Pro. He doesn't have the accolades. Like, why are we paying him? I think you're in a position to pay Tua because he's gotten better each year. I would have liked for us to get ahead on the deal, right, and pay him earlier, but he wasn't healthy. So it's tough for you to commit to a guy who's not healthy, right? If we could have did that 2 years ago and he was healthy, money would have been right? The money situation would have been perfect for us. But that's not the case.
And if we would have had a little more consistent play out of him.
True.
So
for sure.
But hey, it is what it is.
The money, bro, the money is spot on. Again, I was on Javon Holland. Obviously we're moving on to Tua. if the Spotrac contract that everybody and their mama has already seen that came out a few days ago, 4 years, 220. People get caught up on the 220. It's 165 fully guaranteed. That's the number you look at, right? So let's just break it down. Let's say it was a 4-year, $165 million deal. That works out to $41 million a year. Daniel Jones received $40 million a year coming off a season where he threw for 15 touchdowns. If you mean to tell me you're getting a top 5 quarterback in every statistical metric, right? And a guy that just came off leading the league in passing, and you're paying him $1 more million than you are Daniel Jones, I think it's a win for three people, 3 parties. Tua Tagovailoa, it's a win. It should be a win for the organization. It also is a win for us fans. Forget
honestly,
about the 220, bro. It's 165. With 105 at signing, bro. They're getting ahead of that. You can get out of that contract in 3 years.
They're front loading,
bro. That's a loss.
Like,
for
come
Tua.
on, bro. It's a win. Like, it's a win for us, though. CB.
Yeah,
that's a Chris Greer special right there. If that happens,
it is, and that's a hell of a deal. I think Tua should be fetching between 45 and 50. Now, if we get him for 41 with that 160 guaranteed or wherever that is, bro, that's a win for us. I mean, quarterbacks, that's the going rate right now. That's just the nature of the game, bro. Like, the quarterback is typically the face of the franchise. Tua has one of the highest selling jerseys in the NFL. It's just the nature of the game. He's gonna get his money, bro. That's the nature of it. I mean, ain't no arguing it. He's gonna get paid. He could go anywhere and get paid.
But I don't know why you would argue that contract, though, EM. Can you speak of that contract right there? Talk to us about the Spotrac. 4 years, 165.
That's perfect. You give it, and again, you're front loading it because you're paying him for the last 2 years, and you're paying him for the next 2. So you're front load. You're giving him $105 million at signing, right? And you're only on the books in terms of for the remainder of the contract is what, 60-something million. And again, that gives you extreme flexibility moving forward. Yeah, you know what I mean? So again, I think I don't understand. Why I do understand why I don't understand it, but again, that's our fan base. It's the ones that really didn't want Tua in the first place. They don't think he's good. They don't think he's that. It's fueling a lot of that, the criticism of that contract, but it's fucking ridiculous. That's a win-win for all parties, bro. If they can get him locked in similar numbers to what we saw that Spotrac projected, that's an absolute home run for Chris Greer.
I think this is a good question by KP. He asked us what would be a win for everyone. KP, man. KP's all right, dude.
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
He's a Wolfpack guy, but he's an all right dude. He said, what would be a win for everyone on Wilkins? What do you guys think would be a win for everyone on Wilkins?
Sign and trade. No, I'm not paying. I'm to the point now. I don't want to pay him. If he came and said, I'll take 15, 16 million. No. I'm trying to sign and try. No, I'm trying to move off. No, bro. I'm moving. No.
Yeah, what do you do to you? What do you do?
No. I'm tired of the conversation, bro. I told y'all I told y'all last year he was gone, right? You had all these idiots on Twitter.
Who said that? Who said that?
You said he was out of here?
That would be this guy, right?
No,
that would be this guy.
Well.
This guy right here at the bottom.
It would be 2 of us, me and you then.
Because you recall when I said,
I don't remember none of that.
Hey, because you do. Well,
I'm just telling y'all right now.
Hey, don't make me jump in that. Hey, listen.
All right, so what's the way?
Hang on real quick. Y'all do remember. You do remember that I said once Zach Silas signed that team-friendly deal, right? That spelled the end of Christian Wilkins.
I don't remember any of
I'm
that.
sure there's somebody in the chat that heard me say that on YouTube as well as Twitter. I've been on the record, right? And I've been consistent about it. I'm trying to move off. I'm trying to move on, bro. I'm trying to move on. Dang. This has been a long, drawn-out process.
Really?
I don't give a fuck if he comes back and says, give me 15. No, I'm trying to move. I'm going to I'm going to reallocate those resources to other areas of the team that we need. And I just think, again, not to minimize the player, his contribution to this defense, but I think there are much, much less expensive options in free agency that you can kind of go in, right? You can sign for half of what he's asking for, and they can right the ship, and then you can go in the draft a guy just like you drafted him, right? And you keep it pushing. You keep it pushing. And again, it's not like Christian Wilkins was the only productive guy on this fucking D line, bro. Now I know Chubb's situation. I know Jalen Phillips' situation in terms of their injuries, maybe being an issue at the beginning of the season. But at the end of the day, you still got Siler, right? I think I think, Phillips might be available at the beginning of the season. But it's not like they don't have players there. They got, Pro Bowl level talent. Christian Wilkins is not the only reason why this defensive line was as productive as it's been the last 2 to 3 years. It's other pieces, and they've got them coming back, right? And if you want the argument of at the beginning of the season, it could be an issue, I'm in agreement. But in terms of making that long-term commitment to him, when again, bro, like, no, I'm trying to move. Again, this is where Chris Grier deserves a little more criticism. Should have, if you wanted to lock him up long term, you should have done that 2 years ago. But if you knew you weren't going to be able to sign him, why are we having this conversation today? Going into last year's draft, which is, again, I was on the record saying this is when you needed to trade him, because there were a lot of teams that were, that needed help with their run defenses. Seattle being one of them, and they traded for Leonard Williams this year.
But I feel like
they traded.
You needed to draft his replacement.
That's what I'm saying. You could have went into the draft last year, and on top of that, if you would have got a pick, if you'd have traded him last year and got a pick for this year, that you could have used as his replacement down the road.
Yeah. And that's what I think the problem is. The Miami Dolphins aren't getting ahead of it. I mean, with the draft picks that they draft with, like, they aren't using their draft pick to replace guys. They're using it to, like, complement a unit. Like, I mean, they did it with Cam Smith. I mean, we're hoping that he could be the replacement for X, right? He didn't get the opportunity to play. Hopefully he comes out and balls next year. That's what we need, right? But the Miami Dolphins do have to do a better job of getting ahead of some of these guys leaving the team, right? I just feel like we're always late to the party, whether it's moving off a guy.
I mean, look at Kansas City. Last year, they moved off of the best wide receiver in football, right? Got a haul for him. Look at what they're doing now. They're ready to move off arguably the best cornerback in all of football. Right, because they don't think they're in their long-term plans. And if you you don't just wait till a player comes to free agency to have, to implement your to have a vision of a player, whether they're long-term or short-term. No, you make that 2 years before their opportunity to come. Now, again, some things can change. A player they can take a significant leap that third, fourth year, whatever, can kind of alter your plans. But you generally have an idea of whether or not a player is going to be, in your long-term plans 2 years into that contract, especially a rookie deal. Yeah. And again, if you want to, this is where I'm highly critical of Chris Grier in that regard. He's just, for whatever reason, the Dolphins have just failed miserably in that regard. And not just recent memory, but, going back 5-6 years. So they need to get better at, in terms of how they do business. With these young, ascending, talented players, bro.
Like gotta, like, even with Waddle, bro. If you want him here,
and again, you got Phillips, you got Waddle, you got Javon Holland, you're about to be in this situation yet again next offseason.
I think now would be the best time to sign Jalen Phillips. I mean, he's coming off an injury. He's probably gonna be willing to take a little discount. You got to sign him now. Like, you got to get ahead of Waddle, because Waddle's gonna command a bunch of money. If you want him here, you need to sign him now. Because if you wait to the last minute, these guys are going to get big bags, and you're not going to be able to compete.
Well, listen here. Hey, man, that Waddle situation is a touchy one.
It is.
You know what I mean? Because, you had a lot of people in their feelings. You see how that whole tweet from Barrett Jackson went viral. Oh, we can't trade Waddle. And bro, these overly emotional fans of, in our community, bro, how they are with these players.
Man, these people love their players, though. And that's one thing I do notice about the Miami Dolphins.
There is nothing wring with love. There's nothing wrong with being fans of your players, but when you allow it to cloud your judgment, and that tweet that Barrett Jackson put out, I mean, I think it was spot on, right? The problem is the people that are overly emotional about these players, it clouds their judgment to, like that whole tweet. There was nothing wrong with what he said. He was just saying about getting out ahead of, figure out I'm paraphrasing, but figure out, okay, are you going to be able to make it long-term with Waddle? Or if not, well, now's the time to entertain in a trade possibility and recover, a lot of assets for him. What the fuck is wrong with that? That's standard operating procedure with smart NFL teams, bro. If Tyreek Hill can get traded before his time is up, what you mean to tell me Jalen Waddle can't?
Yeah, that's wild. And I think Anthony does have a point here. He says, I think Greer's gun shy when it comes to that aspect. He hesitates or wants to hold on to a player too long instead of getting the best value for him. And I think that's where Greer is. I mean, he does hold on to guys a little bit too long, right? And I think Greer's been in a tough spot too, because he's also been in between coaching staffs and stuff like that. So when you're in between coaching staffs and you're trying to make it work and you're trying to give coaches what they want, you're also trying to get new guys in the building, you're trying to make what you gave them work. I think that's a lot. I think there needs to be some sort of reset right now in terms of guys you bring in. And I'm fine with guys like Christian Wilkins walking because he wants $24 million, because that's going to give us the opportunity to get maybe 2 or 3 guys in the building that could compete for that spot and be just as productive. And maybe not as productive. Maybe we don't need 10 sacks from a defensive lineman. Maybe our edge guys or linebackers will make up for some of those sacks. So you got to think about it like that too. You don't always need like a ton of production from single guys. Collectively as a unit, you want those guys to play well within the unit. If they can play well, and I'm sure that's what Weaver's having conversations about. Hey, let's just get guys in here who work well within the system, do their job, and make plays. And you don't need the big money guys to do that. You got
to figure out who your core guys are.
Yeah,
the players that you cannot afford to lose. And again, I know I've been saying that on the record, saying that really any player can get it. But that is true. I think unless you're a Pat Mahomes type of player, right? Anybody can get it. Anybody can go, but for the right price. But you got to figure out who's the foundation of your team is. You got to build accordingly. And again, if you look at, I'm not saying that's the case with Waddle. I'm just, again, we talked about Jalen Waddle. That's why I'm bringing him up. But any player, right? It could be obviously Christian Wilkins, right? They don't want to. They deem him as a player that they can, I don't want to make it seem like they don't value him, but they don't. Obviously, if they felt like he was a player that they had to have, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. They would meet his asking price and keep it pushing. Well, obviously, he's not.
And that's what people don't realize. It's like, bro, if the Miami Dolphins aren't willing to come to their number, bro, it just ain't working out. Maybe it's just not going to happen. And that's what we got to realize, that, hey, it's not always meant to be, right? These guys aren't going to be Miami Dolphins forever. A lot of these guys will find new franchises, go to play for other teams. We'll miss them, and we'll get new guys in. Hopefully the new guys outperform those guys. Not always the case, but hopefully it picks up somewhere else. That's the nature of the game, bro. Like, we can't be mad with guys leaving the franchise to go get money, because when it's the same thing with coaches. When you're building a good team and you have great coaches on your coaching staff, they're going to leave and go get other positions, right? It's just like these players. When you're building the team and these guys are playing well and they're on these rookie deals and it's time to get their money, bro, they're going to have to go somewhere else sometimes. And they
act like, and the fan base acts like that's a Miami Dolphin issue. That's an NFL issue. Like, how some of the just absolute buffoonish takes in this regard that these people come up with on it. I'm like, how long have you been following the NFL? Like, bro, it's ridiculous.
But I think the problem is that fans get so caught up in the Miami Dolphins, right? They hear Christian Wilkins' name every day, and they hear about Waddle every day. But if you go to 31 other NFL teams, they got the same guys on the same team with the same situations, like some of them are gonna lose some really good players, bro.
Mhm.
If you
I
and
mean,
that's the thing, if you watch some other YouTube content creators, they're having the same conversations about players on their team. Hey, is this guy gonna be around? Are we gonna pay this guy? I think it's too much to pay him. Like that's everywhere, bro. 31 NFL teams, somebody on that team is not gonna get paid and they're gonna have to go somewhere else to get their money.
the
Point blank
Chiefs,
period.
the Chiefs are the gold standard in terms of, rebuilding on the fly, getting out ahead of contract, trading away
Yeah.
players, 2 years, as opposed to hanging on to them for 2 years too long, right? They're the gold standard. And I mean, if they're showing the rest of the NFL the blueprint, you can rebuild on the fly and remain competitive. Again, figure out who your foundational core guys are, and that way you can remain competitive, right?
Mhm.
And you just build around
Build
it.
around that. Yeah.
You build around that, and you keep bringing in that cheap labor, that young talent that you need to develop. But again, you can still be competitive and have and reset your roster year to year on a year-to-year basis. Two things can be true. So again, Kansas City is showing the
Good.
rest of the world, in recent times, how to do it.
And I think,
Well,
and I
you know
think,
what speaks. You know what speaks to that point, though. Just to
yeah,
further
yeah.
that point, CB and EM. Everybody loves Jalen Ramsey, right? Everybody loves Tyreek Hill when we got him. Everybody loved
Mhm.
the Bradley Chubb move, right?
They
Well, how
came
did we
from
get?
other
How,
places,
how did we
bro.
get those pieces?
They
Because
came
those
from
teams
Mhm.
walked off those players, right? They let
yeah.
them go,
100%.
right? But Miami is the only team that can't let go of anybody,
Yeah,
right?
it's
we're
like
we're the
Right,
crazy to
ones that
me,
can't
right.
do
bro.
business.
Yeah.
That
And
shit
not
don't
just
make
with
no
them.
damn sense.
You
It
you remember
don't.
and
It
Dominican
don't,
Sues of the world. And I mean, bro, Detroit let him go. They
bro.
let him take
And that's
and
the
it,
thing. And I want to address this point by Nene. She says the issue is key pieces you drafted, you letting walk for nothing in return. Keep the foundation of this debate square on. There's gonna be guys you draft that you just don't extend and pay. That's the nature
Was
of the
Tyreek Hill a key
NFL.
piece in Kansas City? Was Tyreek Hill a key piece in Kansas City?
But she's gonna
They
say they got
drafted him.
compensation. But she's gonna say they got compensation for it.
But again, if we move off a guy like Christian Wilkins or we move off of a guy like Javon Holland, we're gonna get compensation. If we
True.
move
Yeah.
off to EM's point, if we ever move off of Jalen Waddle, right? If that was the scenario, you're
Yeah.
not getting compensation for Jalen Waddle like that. I don't understand those comments. CB is what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, let's keep it
and
100, bro. Like, stop.
and then on top of that, again, and I'm not making this about Jalen Waddle, but I'm just addressing the wide receiver position. If the Dolphins were to make a move at wide receiver in terms of a trade, look at the talent that's all up and down this damn draft, right?
They
At
got
the
a
wide
lot of
receiver
talent.
position.
Yeah. It's
So
stacked.
they act like these play. Oh, if you trade Wall, if you trade Tyreek, it's the end of this team, which is,
And I'm
bro.
not look, I'm not saying trade Waddle by any
Yeah,
means.
yeah. I'm not saying that
Right,
at all.
right.
But if
And
you
I
are
know
to
you're
move off of him,
and I know you're not saying that either, Ian. But if you were to trade Waddle right now and get a first and a second, or 2 seconds or something like that, bro, you will be able to get a really good wide receiver that could be just as productive as a
or
Jalen
better,
Waddle.
or better.
You just don't know. And I think people get so clouded about, oh, he's Jalen Waddle. We drafted him. He's a really good football player. He's, top 10 in terms of production. You can get a guy in that's going to produce that could be just as good or even better. I mean, these receivers coming out right now are just on a different level, right? If you put them into a good system, they work out typically. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that with the Justin Jeffersons, some of these young guys, they're really good at what they do. Like, you can tell these guys are really good players.
And this
And they're
class is supposed to
stacked,
be,
bro.
bro. It's like one of
Stacked,
the deepest at that position in recent memory, bro.
bro.
And
It's
again,
crazy.
I'm not shopping Jalen. Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if the Dolphins, and again, in a situation where they need picks, we need bodies more than anything. That's what we need now. O
Yeah.
line help, D line help, secondary help. No, virtually nothing at safety. We need bodies. We need bodies.
Bro. Hey, and they say KP says trading Tyreek helps balance the checkbook and helps us invest in Waddle's total development. Honestly, to me, I'm trading Waddle before I trade Tyreek. And that's just me, right? Because I feel like we could go get a guy in the draft to replace Waddle and it'd be just just as good a situation. And I think Waddle's a really good football player. I love Waddle. I want him to be here forever. I just know it's not realistic to pay God 2 wide receivers, top wide receiver money. It's just not realistic, bro. Like, we got to start coming to grips with who our team really is and what the team is going to look like moving forward. We can't be caught up on these players, man.
You can, bro.
Can't be caught up on them.
In a situation where in a year where we need bodies, bro, we need picks. In this draft. I mean, bro, like this is the situation we're in. And I mean, I'm not shopping Waddle, but if a team calls with a first, with a second, and a 4th round pick, I'm sorry, bro. I'm entertaining that and it could be Tyreek too. It could be Tyreek as well. I
would not be surprised if Chris Grier is not shopping players on our current team right now to get draft picks for this draft. I would not be surprised if he's shopping guys on this roster to get draft picks. I wouldn't be shocked. Bro, this draft is stacked, and you're gonna get a cheap guy, a younger guy who will be here for 3 or 4 years on a rookie deal, bro.
100%.
You gotta get good guys like that on your football team, and you gotta hit. You gotta put them on the field, and they got
that. Now, see, that's the big thing. That's the key right there. You got to continue to hit on these players that you're bringing in. That's the biggest issue. So if they continue to do that, and again, salute to Kansas City, they've been able to do that. Again, they've had here recently they've had tremendous amount of success hitting on draft picks, and again that has extended that Super Bowl window, for the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, right? So. But that's the situation the Dolphins are in. You got to hit, bro. You got to hit. So, but I'm more than confident. I'm comfortable with this front office, presently constructed with Grier, Marvin Allen, Reggie McKenzie. I think the last 2 to 3 years they've done a very good job from a draft perspective. But they've had some misses, But again. The evaluations are still going on with the Channing Tindalls, with the Eric Izukamas of the world. We'll see. Again, I know a lot of people are so quick to write those players off, but again, they could have a Austin Jackson type of season in 2024, and all of a sudden we've just automatically forgotten about the first 3 unproductive years, that they've been in the league. So again, you got to hit, bro. You got to hit on those players.
Yeah, Lou, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I'm not going to sit here. I think we've already done the free agency route. I think it is, to Ian's and everybody's point, really. Yeah, we need to start building this team through the draft. Get a bunch of young players on cheap contracts, and if you have to move certain individuals, again, I'm not advocating neither to shit Waddle out, but if I receive a phone call and it was kind of something like what Ian kind of told us, then yeah, I am going to listen to those conversations. But I, again, completely agree with Ian in the aspect, if you do make moves like that, it's on guys like Chris Grier, Reggie McKenzie, and the likes to sit in that room and bring in the right guys, right? You can't give up some of these pieces and then miss on the guys you bring in. So, as you know, it is what it is. The Dolphins find themselves in some tough situations with certain players, and whether we get ahead of it moving forward by paying them or moving them, we just got to stay ahead of the game. No more of this finding ourselves in this situation and now we're scrambling to figure stuff out. We got to, no matter what side of the fence you're on, signing players and keeping them here long term, or maybe moving off a player a year early than everybody expected or whatever. We got to be ahead of the game. And that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, it's that again. That's just
mute, CB.
Oh yeah. You're right. Go ahead.
That's again. This is not a Dolphin issue. I want to be clear. This is business. This is business in the NFL. Period. Yeah. So nothing more, nothing less. So, but the Dolphins, man, they need bodies, bro. They need. This was the wrong. From a salary cap standpoint, from a draft perspective, this was not the year that they should have coming into the 2024 draft with the amount of, they needed a surplus of picks.
They did. Yep.
You know what I mean? This is the year. And considering all the players that you potentially could be letting walk, this was the year that and again, I would rather hang on to Jalen Waddle. I would rather move Tyreek Hill if that was on that was on the table because, you know, you get out from underneath that contract. But I just think with Tyreek's advanced age relative to the wide receiver position and the contract, you wouldn't get as much back in return as you would for a young, cheap, ascending player like Jalen Waddle. So, but we'll see, man. I think it's going to be I think I got a feeling there's going to be some surprises coming out of left field at some point. I think the first domino was this Christian Wilkins, you know, non-franchise tag possibility, right? So I'm comfortable with saying there might be some, you know, it might be some surprises here in the coming weeks.
Hey, keep that comment
team.
up, CV. Keep that comment up because that's the homie Tony from Twitter. So shout out to my guy. No, that's my guy. Tony's my guy. Man. No, y'all ain't gonna do that shit to my guy Tony, man. That's my guy.
Hey,
man, I have no idea who that is, bro.
All right. Tony gonna light you up, EM next time we see you.
I have no idea who that is. He's Hey Nas. I signed him up on the gate the other night, hating on Tua. Hey Nas. But yeah, matter of fact, I heard him in that Twitter space earlier. He had my name in his mouth. Drop that goddamn link, CB for Tony and Tony only, so I can go in and put him to sleep real quick.
No.
Zip him up. You trying to zip him up real quick?
Yeah. I'm trying to pack him up, bro. Let me pack him up real quick.
Hey, that's funny, but I would definitely, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm definitely trading down from 21. I'm trading down and I'm accumulating more. I'm getting more picks, and then I'm gonna get the replacements. I'm gonna get Hunt's replacement if he walks, and I'm getting Christian Wilkins' replacement too. I got to. I mean, if you're gonna let guys like that walk, you gotta get you some picks this year. You gotta find a way to get more picks.
Hey, well, real quick, because again, we got off, and I brought it up. We got off the Javon Holland, right? Forget about trading them if that's not an option for you guys. I'm just saying we're gonna find ourselves. This is his last year. If we're talking about getting ahead of these players, should we be talking about an extension for Javon Holland? Because what are you gonna do next year after when he's not under contract? Like, what if you guys ain't up for trading them? What's the number for Javon Holland? Like, what are we doing there?
Well, his number is going to depend on whether or not I'm entertaining extending him. The number that he's asking for.
So you're letting him play under his last year before you sign him?
Nah, I don't think you let him play under his last year. I think you got to get ahead of it.
Well, if he's taking the position that Christian Wilkins took, well, again, I'm sorry. I'm picking that goddamn phone up. I'm making that call, right? No, so not doing that.
And I think that's what Chris Greer's problem is.
Okay, so you're not re-signing him. You're looking to move off of Javon Holland,
depending on his price tag. If he wants to reset the market, right? No, I'm not willing to reset the market with Javon Holland. I am picking. I'm reaching for that damn phone call. That phone.
And I think that's the problem with Greer too. He'll reach for the phone to get a guy in, but he won't reach for the phone to move a guy. Right? If Christian Wilkins was saying, "Hey, I'm stuck at this number, man. I can't get there," and if Javon Holland is saying, "Hey, I'm stuck at this number, we're not gonna get there," bro, you got to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, this guy wants this number. Are you guys willing to pay that? Like, what kind of draft compensation are you guys willing to give us for him?" Like, you gotta have those tough phone calls. Like, you gotta have the tough conversations as the organization, because if Christian Wilkins said, "Hey, I'm stuck on $25 million and I can't come off of it," you probably could have traded a midseason, got a guy with similar production, and said, "Hey, we got some draft compensation as a result of it." And the Miami Dolphins probably wouldn't have missed a beat. We probably wouldn't have missed a beat. But you got to pick up the phone when guys are saying they're stuck on their number. You got to say, "Oh, okay, we're not in the same place. We're going to have to make some calls and see if somebody's willing to pay you that."
And you look at, and we're addressing the safety position right now. You look at the strategy the Cincinnati Bengals took with not one but both their starters. They let arguably the best safety in all of football, and Jesse Bates, right? He priced himself out. They had a number for him. He had a different number. They could not find common ground. Boom. They let him. He got up out of there. Von Bell as well. So Holland loved the player. Would love to keep him. Just depends on the number that he's asking. If he's looking to reset the market, I'm looking to get out ahead of that as we're speaking right now. If I'm Chris Greer.
Yeah. And that's why you got to have those conversations. You got to have those conversations with those guys too, because and you should be willing to have those conversations. They're tough conversations. Hey, you're talking to his agent. You're talking to the player. Hey, what is that compensation going to look like? Is it resetting the market? Is it, within our range? Is it close? If it's not close, like we got to kind of figure something out.
Yeah,
we got to take calls on you.
He's got to go. No,
Yeah,
and that strategy, and again, I would even take that strategy
with everybody.
With Tua right now. Now Tua gets to that other. See, the quarterback position is unique, right? You take a little different approach in terms of the negotiations based off the production you're getting from them. You can't take that same approach with the quarterback you can with every other player, because that's the most difficult position to play in all of American sports. It's the most difficult position to really draft and develop, right?
It's the most dependent position on the
field. That's the biggest factor. That's the biggest factor.
So you got to take a little different approach, but until Tua gets to that next level, well, I'm taking that same. If he is sitting here saying, "Hey, I'm looking to reset the goddamn market. I want Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed 230." Oh no, Tua got to get up out of here. He got to go.
Absolutely,
he got to go.
And that's the Miami Dolphins got to be having those conversations. And if guys aren't willing to budge, bro, you got to make the call. And it's not personal; it's business. And business is business. And that's the NFL. And these guys know that. These guys know they're none but basically a number, and they know their production, right? Your numbers mean a lot, right? That's all they got to stick by is their numbers, how they come to work today, every day, their attitude, stuff like that. But numbers and production mean a lot. And that's why Tua is going to command that type of money, because the numbers are there. And people want to say, hey, he hasn't done this in moments and stuff like that. Well, the numbers say he's a top 10 quarterback, and top 10 quarterbacks get paid this. So that's what he's probably going to get paid. Point blank, period. And that's something we can't argue with, bro. That's life. If you're in a production business and the numbers say one thing and you're at the negotiating table and they're saying you're top 10 and what you do, then you should get paid like everybody else. That's like that's market value. Give me my market value and we good. And that's all Tua should be looking for, is market value. And I think that's where all of these guys are looking for, market value. But some franchises see more value in other positions than others. And I think that's where we are right now with like the guard position and with the defensive line position. I think the Miami Dolphins see other positions as a higher priority. I think they're looking at edge rusher as like a premier position, cornerback, premier position. Center should be premier position. Tackle should be premier position. Receiver, premier position. Quarterback, premier. But everything else is kind of like, in between that, I feel
and if you look at historically what Chris Greer's strategy,
it's always been that.
It's always been he pays pass rushers, he pays corners, right? He'll pay a wide receiver, he'll pay a tackle. So
and I think and when I think about it too, all of those guys we talked about, those are guys that are kind of on an island by themselves. Right?
Mm-hmm.
These corners, they're on an island by themselves. These receivers, they're on an island by themselves at times. Tackles and defensive and edges, they're on an island by themselves. They got to win those one-on-one matchups. They don't have the interior to protect them. They don't have a center or guard to help them. They're out there by themselves. Right? That cornerback, he's out there by himself covering that man. If he gets beat, we giving up a touchdown. So you got to think about it like that. The safeties, they're just assisting the corners. They are help, right? They are help. The linebackers, they are hiding for the most part. They are hiding in the set between the secondary and between the defensive line. So you got to be thinking that there's a reason why organizations put so much priority on these edge rushers and these tackles and these guys that are snapping the ball and that are catching the ball and that have the ball in their hands every play, because those are the guys that really affect the game. And not saying that those other guys don't.
Absolutely. But
it's not as much.
But you got to look at the quarterback touching the ball every play. You got to you look at left tackle, right? you got to protect that quarterback, right? You got to give him time.
Yeah.
And then you look at on the flip side of that, well, you look at the receiver position, you got to have somebody to throw to, but you look at the flip side on the defensive side of the football, the edge rushers, you're trying to sack the quarterback, you're trying to create negative plays, and then the cornerbacks, you got to cover, you got to close, make those windows extremely small for quarterbacks to consistently complete passes to those receivers. So again, everything is centered around protecting the quarterback on offense and stopping the quarterback on defense. Because again, that the quarterback touches the ball every single time. So that's the nature of the that's fundamental football, bros. What that is. So that's why they make these investment. Certain GMs, the majority of GMs, make these high level investments at those key players that's centered around the quarterback position.
Yeah. Hey, but man, this was a great conversation, bro. This was a great conversation around, and I think it's a great conversation around the cap situation and like players.
It definitely got better when I pulled up, but it is what it is.
That's a goddamn lie.
It definitely got better once I pulled up. So it is what it is.
Yeah. But I think these are the conversations we need to have, and I want people to understand, bro. It's not about these players all the time. I know we love these players. But some of these guys will be guys that we draft and that we have to move off of. That's the nature of the game. It just is. It's the nature of it. We can't be mad at it. We just got to be like, yo, hopefully we replace him with a guy whose production is just as good or better. That should be the motto. It's about the shield. It's not about these players, man. These players come and go. They'll always come and go.
Hey, man, real quick, though, before we get up out of here, don't let Tone Loc off the hook. Drop that goddamn link real quick. We got about 5 minutes. I want to know I heard Tony, he was in a Twitter space earlier, and he kind of mentioned me. I want to know what the problem is.
That was Destin. I
don't know who. I really don't even know who that is. But I want to know what the problem is. That's what I want to know.
Hey, that's for Tony. That's for Tony.
With Tone Loc. That's what I want. That's what I want. Drop that link. Drop that goddamn link, CB.
Tony got the link.
Tell him to pull up. What you waiting on, Tone? Pull up.
All I heard, was EM, a little birdie tapped me on my shoulder, right? See, Tony has been on the Fence tailgate. Shout out to the homies, right? He's been on Pete's channel, but Tony told me that he don't know who CB was, so I don't know if Tony was going to show up.
Damn!
That's what he said.
Real quick, shout out to the homie Pete over there doing numbers, man. I'm
doubling up, goddammit, doubling up.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. Pete have put the rest of these YouTubers on notice. He's officially put y'all on notice, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
I see you doing your thing, Pete. Keep grinding.
Hey, what's good, Tony?
What's good?
Hey, what's good, everybody? What's up,
Tony? Light his ass up, Tony. Tony, light him up.
Hey, let me ask. Hey, EMC, is the reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth?
Yeah.
You've been running your goddamn mouth, and you don't even know what the hell you talking about. I was helping your argument out with these idiots trying to get rid of Tua. I wasn't trying to get rid of Tua.
Oh, is that what that was about? Is that what it was about?
They was up there trying to replace him with Justin Fields and Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, and talk about drafting J.J. McCarthy. Man, that's what that foolishness was going up there.
Oh, my bad. See, I was in and out of the conversation, right?
No, you was up there.
Don't go to backpedaling now.
And I heard Tony, and I was like, man, I said, listen to Tony hating ass. Listen. I started to drop that Wolfpack emoji, goddammit.
That's your homeboy Pete up there talking about draft J.J. McCarthy and move off the tour.
Oh my gosh, Pete on one, boy.
Hey, Pete, did you see JJ his workout at the combine? By the way, did you catch that?
How'd he look?
Terrible. I know it's a workout, but
Pete said he threw for 61 miles per hour, so he put all the haters to rest.
You hear him?
Damn, man, bro.
I heard we should drive Penix at 21. That's what TD said. TD said drive Penix at 21.
Well,
how you feel about that? How you feel about that, Lou?
Well,
What?
No,
I didn't hear.
yeah.
Well,
he's stuttering now.
no. I
He's
didn't.
stuttering.
No.
He's stuttering.
I didn't
Yeah.
hear.
You're
I
gonna
didn't hear.
stutter real quick,
I didn't hear
bro.
what CB said. What did CB? What you said, bro?
I said TD said draft Penix at 21. He showed that video of him throwing in the hallway.
Yeah. So wait. Hang on, Lou, real quick. So to be clear, so what you're saying, CB, is that TD Foolish Talk was he showed two throws of Michael Penix in the hallway, and he said just off those two throws in the hallway, he said draft that guy at 21.
He said he that dude. Man.
Now that's the Tony two throws I used to know. But yeah, so two throws in the hallway that convinced him that we needed to draft him. Okay, all right.
Why you gotta say Tony two throws? Why you gotta say Tony two throws?
I'm texting TD right after I get off.
Why you had to call that man Tony two throws, man? That's crazy, man. That's crazy, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. That's some nasty work, goddammit.
Bro, you going to hell, bro. I'm telling you that right now.
Well,
bro.
that's some nasty work, CB. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Hey, why he muted himself? He laughing so hard. He muted.
Yeah. You know he laughing.
That's the Tony two throws. I know. I used to know.
EM, you a goddamn fool, EM. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Hey, I'm ending this shit, man. Y'all boys out of pocket, man.
Hey, man, no, we just got Tony up here. Hey, we got 5 minutes. Let's go Tony Cook. Man.
Yeah. Let him get his shit off, CB. So now you, hey, Tone, now you know who to do 40 CB 41.5 is now. You know who he is now.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
You know who he is now, right?
Hey, that's all you do. You just get rid of a nigga who talking like that.
Yo,
you just
wow.
That's crazy.
You put him in the back, right? Hey, that's all you got to do to him.
Damn.
That's all you got to do. That's easy. That's easy work, EM. Take yourself off mute. I know you got something to say now.
No, we good. Hey, I'm just talking. Hey, I said everything. I got real quick though. Tone, you remember that? Hey, bro, you remember that conversation we had the other night on it was that late night conversation we had on Pete's show the other night, right?
Ooh. Nah, shout out to Pete.
Don't act like you don't know who that is, CB. I know you don't. You know about that cornerback that just you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were trying to. There's a lot of people trying to get pushback on that, and sometimes I don't get it. You know, people fall in love with these players and not understand them players gonna come and go. Like we not the only people that gonna be getting rid of people. We not the only people that's gonna bring in other players. But at the end of the day, I'm not on that train of getting rid of Javon Holland, but I am on that train with bringing in somebody like the Jerry Sneed. Because we don't know if Cam Smith gonna pan out, and even if he do, right? How long you think we gonna have Jalen Ramsey? Like, shouldn't we have somebody already?
Very good point. Very good point.
And he's only 27. That'll give you a minimum around at least around 4 or 5 years with him. You get what I'm saying? And that give you a more opportunity to bring in more DBs because you can't never have too many DBs. As well as what we need to start doing is stop waiting to the last minute. And when we got to be in a rush to try to get these players out or get something back with them. And now you think the rest of the league don't understand that you're in panic mode and that you're in desperation mode, and they're going to use that to their advantage. Now, when you get them when they high quality and you see what you can get, you know what I'm saying? Put the temperature out there, see what you can get back and get ahead of these players and stop wasting our fucking draft picks. And what we depending on compensatory picks. Like, that's not good enough. We should have never lost Xavier Howard for nothing. We basically gonna lose this man for nothing. When we was trying to get rid of him back when we drafted Noah Igbenati. So, and
that's one thing TD did. TD was ahead of the X thing. We could have traded. We could have traded X a while ago.
I think if they had to miss, that's why it goes back to what we talked about, CB. If you're going to take that approach, you got to hit, bro. You got to hit. Now, if Noah would have panned out, Xavier Howard would not be here, in my opinion. He wouldn't be here.
I can see that. I can see that. Hey, they say Tony cooking though, man. Shout out to the homie Tony for pulling up on us.
Hey, man. Hey, Tony is one of those. Hey, real quick, Tony is one of those guys from. Again, I hate separating them, but we all know Twitter exists. one of those guys from Twitter you can actually talk to and have a conversation with. I've learned to kind of fuck with Tony on that level a little bit. For real, I know we troll a lot and then we try to clean it up. Tony is one of them guys in the community, bro, I really do respect, because at least I know every time I'm going to have a conversation, most of the times with CB and EM as well, but Tony for sure, he's always 10 toes down. He's understand what he says. And a guy for me, like me, I respect that. No matter if I agree or disagree, take that aside. Tony's one of them guys that when you talk to him and you get to know him and you're around him a little bit, you kind of understand where he's coming from. And for me, I respect that. So shout out to you, Tony, for real. Always
you heard that,
up on Twitter.
You say my name, I'm like the boogeyman, EM.
Let us know, Tone. Let him know, Tony.
You know what, though? Hey, I got to keep it 1,000, bro. Hey, listen, to be honest with you, I feel the same way. Like, I've got an opportunity to really listen to Tony and really get to know him. Because me and Tony, to be honest, we didn't get off on the most ideal. Bad. I mean,
he bodied you.
Oh man, he got him.
Man, that was a tough situation, right? But at the end of the day, I got an opportunity, because we got a mutual friend, and I kind of, after that whole situation, not to go in that detail, it was water on the bridge anyway. But we both got a mutual friend, and I kind of talked it over with him, and I felt bad about that situation, and he told me, and again, it's just that I didn't know Tony that well. So once we got past that and I had an opportunity, I'm not always as active as Lewis and Tony and a lot of people on Twitter are, CBU too. But when I pull up and when I tune in as a listener, I'll listen to him. And, and as I've listened to him over the months, Tony is a solid dude, bro. He knows his shit. And I got, I got to call a spade a spade. He knows his stuff. He's got a presence, on Twitter. I will say this, though. Tone, you need to get up out of the minor leagues, bro. Twitter is the minor leagues.
He said you got to come to the big boys.
You got to come to where the big boys play, right? We all know that. I know a lot of them Twitter, people that hang out at Twitter, the majority of the time, they kind of have this anti-YouTube attitude. Well, it's for a reason for that.
What is
YouTube is where the big boys play.
I don't understand the anti-YouTube stuff. I don't understand
bro, it's because, again, say what you want. Everybody's coming to YouTube. Omar Kelly, Alan Poupart, Shannon Sharp. Ain't nobody running to Twitter and loading up Twitter spaces. And again, not to knock Twitter, that platform, but YouTube is where the big boys play. You're gonna do the most numbers. More people watch YouTube as opposed to going into Twitter space. That's just a fact. So my advice to you, Tone, listen, you need to get around from, them people like Lewis. Lewis is going to die in the minor leagues. He ain't going to never get that call up. He ain't going to never get the call up.
Hey, Tony,
so
come to Death
you
Row,
graduated for sure. You've graduated for sure. You need to come up here where the big boys are. And lead in minor league, nothing happening, clowns alone, bro.
Well, no, listen, I think and I can only speak for me, when I'm working, Twitter's just a lot easier to go on, with my work. It's a time to get past my day. Now, I agree with EM. YouTube is where it's at in the aspect of to generate more of a buzz, get your name known, viewers, all of that, money-wise, getting compensated for what you do. YouTube is definitely the place to be. What I will say, I heard CB talk about, where does that come from, like the divide? It comes from the people on Twitter that like interact with a person like me or EM or CB that's on YouTube, right? Like we go over there. At least, again, this is no shot at anybody and no praise for another man, but at least that's why, again, I respect a guy like Tony. Tony didn't never come to YouTube like that. Well, I don't know of, right? But we started kind of putting it in his ear. Yo, come around, this show over here, this show over here. That's why I can respect. That's a Twitter guy, right? And I'm not just saying clicks or anything like that, but he was on Twitter to come to YouTube, give everybody a shot. Even guys he don't know, like CB83, he pulled up here, right? Like that shows respect, that shows growth. So again, Tony, salute to you, homie, for being one of those guys that Tony, it's not like people on Twitter that just want to talk to Dolphins on Twitter instead. Tony, I know, is a real fan because he just wants to talk Dolphins. It don't matter where the fuck it is, right? Like Twitter, YouTube, or whatever. So Tony, for real, bro, I know, it is what it is, but I just want you to know I fuck with you hard body, Tony. Like, for real. You're a solid nigga.
Good. The thing about the Twitter, I don't know if I was on a space when everybody was talking about it. And I was the main one saying I don't understand what the difference between Twitter or YouTube. I thought it was a community as a Dolphin fan base.
Right.
That's what I thought it was. So if I could get content on Twitter, I could get content on YouTube. That's where I'm going to get the content from. If I want to give my point of view or my perspective of how I feel about my team, then I could go to wherever the people are asking for the information. For me, I never say, oh, I know Lewis or Em or anybody from Twitter or YouTube. I just know Lewis, the Dolphin fan. I just know Em, the Dolphin fan. I don't I know Doc, the Dolphin. I don't separate it because I don't see it as a separation. And one thing everybody know, nobody's gonna tell me what side if you tell me I gotta choose a side, then you choose my side for me. I mean, because you're not gonna tell me what I'm doing.
100%.
You understand? Because I know that's just not nothing where anytime you try to divide something, then I mean you don't want what's best for that.
Yeah.
We trying to build as a community. How we gonna build it? We separating Twitter from YouTube.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't understand. There's some people who will, get jump into spaces, but never come over to YouTube. I don't get it. It's all content. It's all being able to hear content, share dialogue. Like people, you don't necessarily need to agree with everybody you listen to. But why would you want to live in a space where you agree with everybody in regards to that?
Bro.
Bro, I don't understand that shit.
And what makes for more entertainment is the differences of an opinion. It's the debate, bro.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
People don't want to tune in and just listen. Everybody sound like robots. Everybody agreeing. There's no pushback. Everybody. Bro, nobody's good. You ain't gonna have an audience for too long, bro. You're not if you do that.
That's why I entertain the Wolf Pack. That's why I tell them to pull up, because I think it's important for us to have those conversations. And when you stop having those conversations, bro, that's when you stop growing as a person. And just, I mean, you gotta have that, bro. I think that's a part of growth.
You can't have a debate about your team, and I'm talking about. I like to have heated debates. We could go back and forth, talk. As long as you keep it respectable.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. If you're willing to stand on your beliefs and stand on your takes, I'm willing to stand on mine. We can have a healthy debate. 100%. It's most likely going to be entertaining to the people that's listening. You know, you don't want to sit up here being bored all day and be like, yeah, this, and agree with everything. It should be a debate. I should want to keep Holland, and y'all say we should trade them, and I'm gonna give you a reason why I think we should keep them, and you give me a reason why you think we should get rid of them. And you can let the fans be the judge of who they think was right or how. That's what we got these channels for and these panels for, to let people know that there's not all the same thing. We all have differences of opinion, but as long as we got that one game, that one goal in mind, which is to make this team better. Like, I'm not just saying get rid of him because I don't like the guy. I'm saying get rid of him because I think we could bring this guy in that could do better for this team. And I'm like, what I think he should stay because I think he's better than that guy, whoever you feel is better. But the end goal is, why do we think that will make this team better? Not because I think I want to be the smartest person. No, why we think this team is better. So I think if you're not having debates, then somebody's lying, and it's not authentic to me. That's just to me.
Yo, CB, throw up Q's last comment so Tony can see that. I agree 1,000%.
He said, "Okay, I hear you." Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up.
Whenever Tony want to pull up.
Now, listen. Tone, I got a lot of respect for you, homie. But at the end of the day, now you in the Lions den. If you start to come up here more, you amongst Lions now. So you got to have.
Don't worry about this nigga, Tony. Don't worry about this nigga,
I don't know what he's talking about.
Hey, Tony. Hey, listen. If you know how much I body these two clowns right here, bro. Some days I have Lewis so damn hot, right? That fool be ready to drive off a guy.
Man, sit your dumb ass down and shut.
What's wrong with you, Wes?
I be having Lewis so goddamn hot, he be ready to drive off the goddamn freeway, dog. You know what I'm saying?
That's a goddamn lie.
So, you Daniel on the Lions, then you gotta handle yours.
You see your boy True Talk say where the link at?
Nah.
Hell no.
I'm sorry.
Hey, y'all boys is wild, man. Hey, I'm ending the show, man.
Real quick though. Hey, shout out to the homie Shake Money. I see you, homie. I see Nene down there too.
Oh, shout out Shake, man.
You know what? I'm still feeling some type of way, Nene, because it's that time when I was absolutely killing, chopping crypto. I forget what platform was on it. She was signed with the nigga in the chat. So I ain't forgot about that, Nay. Seeing your ass in that damn chat. So yeah. I'm still on that. Nay. But
you're a fool, man.
But True Talk, he might have some breaking news, bro. He might have some of that some sourced information for us, which is
he's off of Tua now. He told me last year going into the season Tua was throwing for 9,000 and running for 2,500. And now he says Tua's the worst quarterback in the league. So
we gotta vet these dudes before they get up here with the news. You gotta send me the news in the DMs, the homo, before I let you up here with the nonsense. You gotta tell me what your conversation gonna be like, man. Hey, but I appreciate these boys coming up, Lewis, Tony.
Hey man, salute to y'all, bro. Shout out to everybody in the chat too, by the way. Y'all hit that like button.
CB.
Y'all hit that subscribe button.
Hit that like button, subscribe.
Help CB 41.5 out because he needs all the help he can get.
Help me out. Hey, Pete coming for me, man.
I done told you, he don't put y'all on notice, CB. Hey, you think I'm lying.
I can't buy the 6K. I can't buy the 33, bro. I just gotta put the
Wait a minute.
That's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning.
I need a little clarification on that.
I need a Nike bag, give me the check. I need the money and
who buying subscribers, CB? Who bought 6K, dog?
Let's clarify that. Put a name on that, goddamn.
Yeah. Don't shut the show down. Nah, you know they want to hear that.
Hey,
You know they want to hear that.
What y'all talking about?
Put a name on that, goddamn.
Yeah, put a name on that. Don't close the show just yet.
Hey, brick by brick by brick. Boy.
from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning.
Hey man, this dude CB's a goddamn fool, man. I holla at y'all. Hey, stay in the
That man said